Welcome to Life After the Fire, the preeminent podcast for all things related to having a great and amazing life after the fire service. My name is Chris Phelps. I'm your host. I'm joined today by Captain, right? Captain Mike Zingaro.
Yeah.
How you doing, Mike?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So Mike and I got introduced to each other, I guess, maybe within the last year or so? Maybe?
Yeah, a year or 2 years. Yeah.
Year or so, 2 years, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, Mike is working at a fire department that I used to work at, and he came on after I had left, but he's already built quite a legacy there and doing some great and amazing things. So tell us a little bit about what your position is within the department now and what you're doing with you're on the pension board, right?
Yep. So I've been with Gardens Fire Rescue now. I'm in my 17th year.
Okay.
I'm a captain. I'm in my 6 years as a captain. So I've come through the ranks. I started as a firefighter EMT, became a medic. Then I was a driver for 5 years, lieutenant, now captain. I've recently taken the battalion chief's test.
Oh, cool.
So I've been stepping into that seat a little bit. And then, a bunch of extracurricular over the years. But yeah, right now I'm on the pension board where I've been for 3 years now. So I filled that seat, after we have 2 seats for guys who are active members.
Right.
And I'm one of the 2. So I filled that seat about 3 years ago from one of the guys who retired.
So it's an elected position. So the guys and gals elected you to represent them on the pension board.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So when a spot comes available, or every 4 years, you can compete against other people.
Gotcha.
That seems uncommon as long as the pension is doing well. People keep usually
keeping people informed.
Exactly. Yeah. So so it's an elected position, and there's 2 of us who are active, who are elected into that spot. And then also, I believe you had Jules on the show.
Yeah.
A while back. So I'm on the board with her with Firefighters to the Rescue.
Awesome.
So I've been on the
charitable organization.
Yep. Firefighters Rescue, nonprofit, 501c3 charitable organization. We help. We're really designed to help any what we call public servant. So fire, police, teacher, etc. That falls within our scope, mostly locally, but we do go out. We stretch through the state for sure, and then sometimes even across the nation, depending on how we're helping people and how that happens. So I'm our secretary treasurer, and I've been on the board for now about 10 years.
Awesome. And how long you been on the pension board?
3 years now.
3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So as part of that, and I think that I was previously on the pension board. Actually, through most of my career in the several departments that I worked for, I always wound up on the pension board because I always had an interest in personal finance, and then I know that through the pension board, there's a lot of educational opportunities. You've taken advantage, I assume, of some of those or many of those.
Yeah, so there are educational opportunities. Not only for us, but mostly from a pension standpoint, from a city pension standpoint, or a state-run, a city-run pension. So most people don't understand. One thing that's really interesting to me about a pension is, so many people assume that the government pays this pension forever and ever and ever, which is the biggest misconception.
Yeah.
Well, most people, those people who are watching this, the big thing
all
to know,
10 of our subscribers.
Yeah, the big thing to understand about a pension is, you're contributing, and obviously whatever municipality you work for is contributing on your behalf only when you're working, only when you're there. And then when you drop, you and the city stop contributing. So the pension board, along not only people like me, we're guided by our investment managers, et cetera. Those people have to make that money stretch and last your lifetime.
Exactly.
So I've at least every year we go to seminars and conferences, usually in Orlando and Tampa, and learn as much as we can so we can provide the best outcome for our pension.
Right. So most of the education, from what I remember, most of the education was designed around making you a productive and understanding, how pensions work and what your not only your duties but your responsibilities to the membership is. Now it sounds like from chatting with you, like you guys you're taking it a step further, and you're not only taking that education, applying it to your position on the pension board, but you're also taking it and applying it within the job and sharing that information to the next generation of firefighters.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you have to, and the more informed the members are, the better decisions they can make with their own personal finance, the better decisions they can make even with contract negotiations,
Hmm.
all those things. Because so many times, it some people they say I wanted this or I want that or the things that sometimes aren't feasible or sometimes they're not healthy for the pension. So the more you can educate them, the better decisions they can make. And usually the better relationship you can have between membership and administration, city, etc.
Sure. So that's good. But then you're also taking what you're learning, and you're talking to the guys about how to prepare themselves to retire, and talking some of the other benefits and other ways to save.
Yeah, yeah. So you know as you and I were talking earlier, uh the the older culture of the fire department didn't talk about that much, and the newer culture thankfully is. So a lot of the younger guys who come in are really open to that information, but we're regularly talking to guys, not as a pension board member. I think more as just like a friend,
Yeah.
maybe even a mentor, just talking to guys about um, ways they can prepare themselves financially
Hmm.
through life, starting your 457 early, starting a Roth IRA, preparing themselves. It doesn't have to be a ton of money right now, just starting, preparing to, to buy a home, planning these things out, and just not just coming in, getting a good job and, spending $1,500 a month on a truck, like
Yeah.
preparing themselves properly.
Yeah. So I think that's a common theme that our listeners are hearing. Um, is we talk about new guys coming on the job, not just running out there and getting that big truck payment.
Hmm.
Thinking more into the future, like what is that going to look like? Setting yourself up, and the various things that you're mentioning, like a 457. So it's named after the section of the IRS code. It's section 457 of the IRS code related to deferred compensation, and it's a avenue that most firefighters have access to, and where they can invest their money. It goes in pre-taxed
Hmm.
and allowed to grow pre-tax or tax-free, and then you pay tax on it once you start taking distributions from it or disbursements from it after retirement. And then like Roth IRAs, same basic concept. They're investment vehicles to prepare yourself for retirement or save for retirement.
The beauty about the 457 and the Roth IRA, they both have their pros and cons. But the beauty about the 457 is because we get to retire earlier than most.
Mhm.
Most IRS tax code retirements put you in a plan where you have to wait to a certain age,
Yeah,
and the 457 allows us when we retire and separate employment, as long as we reach full retirement with our department, we can access that money.
exactly.
And there's few plans that allow that.
Yeah,
So not everyone is prepared at age 50 or 55
yeah,
to retire or wait 10 years to get to some other investment vehicle.
right. And when you get to that age, which as when you're young, it sounds like that's ancient. Like you're old, really old, like 51. Holy cow! Like, but I still got a heck of a little bit of life left in me.
Right.
You know, so having access to that to those monies, it's life changing, I guess you could say. Um, but really, really good stuff there, and it's great to hear that you're having those conversations at the dinner table, and helping to set people up for their life after the fire, dropping the name, you know,
Yeah.
and I know a little bit about you're also involved in some real estate on the side.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
long you been doing that?
Yeah. So I've had my real estate license now just over 4 years. I used to say on the side, but it's gotten so busy, it's become, way more than on the
Uh-huh.
side.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I got my real estate license about 4 years ago before COVID, and I actually joined another ex firefighter who's
Uh-huh.
retired. His name's Kevin Spina. Hopefully, we get him here to talk also. But
Yeah, 'cause he's
yeah, he retired from Town Palm Beach about
uh-huh.
20 years ago. Became a real estate agent, extremely successful. For the longest time, he became number one company wide through Kai's Real Estate. I called him more for advice,
Uh-huh.
like getting into it, like, hey, can you give me some tips? Because I knew him previously, and and he graciously invited me to join his team. So,
All right. So, and what do you think it was about your relationship that allowed for that? I guess.
uh, well, this kind of goes further back into our history. So when I met him, I was a teenager. I used to race bicycles competitively,
Uh-huh.
and he, like I said, worked for Town of Palm Beach, and at the time he was training for triathlons. So I met him really on the road riding bikes, and we knew each other just through competitive athletics, really. Although he's a little older than I am. He's about 20 years older than I am. Just good camaraderie. And I think he knew my work ethic. He knows my older brother.
Hmm.
Same thing through riding bikes and stuff like that. And he learned me. We had a bunch of mutual friends, so we kind of knew about each other. So I think that just he with our mutual friends, he knew my work ethic. He knew what kind of person I was. So I
Did
think
he help or move you kind of towards getting into the fire service as
yeah,
well?
yeah, I did. I
Yeah.
so before I became a fireman, same thing. Just
Uh-huh.
like I asked him about real estate, I had a
Yeah.
conversation with him, like, hey, how do you like the fire department? Because I
Uh-huh.
was I was thinking about going to the fire department. So yeah, exactly. I've kind of reached out to him over the years,
Yeah.
for some advice and chatting, and he's been a great mentor. He's always been kind of like what I was saying, like I like to do with the fire department, and with other young guys. He was kind of that to me. I sometimes we wouldn't speak for years, but
Hmm.
he was um, always willing to have a conversation, chat, give some advice. Be a mentor.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So he then kind of helped took you under his wing as
Yeah.
far as real estate goes.
Yep, yep. So, basically, what I did, wasn't anything crazy. I would go to the office, and he's extremely busy. Just to give you an idea, not to throw out too many crazy numbers, but when I joined his team, he was already on a path. Regularly closing about 120 million in sales every year.
Mm.
Extremely successful, very, very busy. And that's with a team. He's got about six other agents on our group, but very professional. Very busy all day. And I would just go into the office and just kind of be there,
Sponge.
just sponge. Exactly. I'd
Hmm.
listen to conversations. I'd learn contracts before I was doing any of it. I would just go and listen. Same thing. I would go. He has a full time, administrative assistant that works there, and I would just go in and kind of like watch her plug stuff into the computer and do stuff, and just start absorbing as much as I could, really, before I even started selling real estate or going on listing appointments or doing any of that, just to get a base knowledge of any of it. I just kind of was like a sidekick for a little bit.
Uh-huh.
But I still am, really. I'll still do that because so much stuff is going on in our office, in our little group. I'll just go and listen and be a part of it, so I can learn a little more. you know
So, and you've been doing it now for what,
yeah,
about
over
4
4 years.
years?
Yeah.
So I guess, fast forward, um, how how many transactions are you, involved in, let's say like in the last 12 months or
Yeah, so well, just kind of the first 3 or 4 months of this year, it's kind of roller coaster.
yeah.
Sometimes you'll go where you don't do too much, and then all of a sudden you kind of get bombarded. The,
Yeah.
the the longer I've been going now, 4 years, obviously you as long as you're doing well, which I feel like I am, you start to get repeat business. You start getting referrals,
Yep.
or friends will say, "Oh, I use this guy; he did a good job."
Hmm.
So now I'm really getting into my first kind of big bulk of that, where I'm getting referrals from other clients. People are coming back who I've used before, or family members. So just this year, so we're in April now. I'm already up to about probably over 15 transactions just for 2023.
That's great.
Um, you know, and over the past, few years, some I do with Kevin, like as a partnership together,
Mhm.
and then some that are just mine. So 15 to 30 transactions a year. Some, on average, I would guess.
And what do
Say
you
that.
think the percentages of um, personal production versus team production? Is that a how you guys look at it, or
Yeah, no, not too much.
no?
So for me, I do a lot of our lead work.
Hmm.
So in real estate, there's different ways of getting clientele. Obviously, to me, the best clientele are your friends, your family, the people
Sure.
who know you. But there's people who are moving here who don't know anybody. They don't know any agents.
Yeah.
So they'll Google search that, or they'll get it from Realtor.com, or some people use Zillow or whatever they are. So we use a couple of those, like lead generations online.
Hmm.
So I handle most of those that are incoming leads from people coming from New York, California. Obviously, we know here in South Florida, we're getting New Jersey, New York, California, a lot of that moving to Florida. So
Yeah.
I handle a lot of those. I do a lot of that, and that's also been very exciting for me. I meet a ton of new people.
Hmm.
It's a little more challenging because you're meeting people that you've never met. You don't have any background with them.
Right.
But it's also been really good because I've been able to really kind of expand my knowledge on the area. I grew up here. I know the area. I get to show them different areas, talk about, the pros and cons of different areas.
Sure.
Um, so, I would say that's 25% of what I do. And then 75% is probably personal.
Personal
Yeah,
production.
exactly. Yeah.
Good. Good. So, and then wind it back. Like, obviously you're doing great now, but it doesn't happen overnight. So how much time do you think you spent in that, just watching, learning before you even got into your first actual transaction?
Probably at least 3 to 4 months before I had a transaction.
Yeah.
And I would tell anybody, who's thinking about real estate or getting into real estate, from a sales standpoint. I just a little background also, prior to becoming a real estate agent, I did some real estate on my own, real estate investing. I have
Uh-huh.
rental property, so I've always had this enjoyment for it. My sister-in-law, my brother's wife, she's huge into decorating, and she was a real estate attorney. So her and I just
Mm.
love having conversation about it. There's
Yeah.
there's a passion for real estate that we both have. So I would say the biggest thing with the real estate end of things, probably no different than any other career, is being really organized, being detailed,
Hmm.
learning the real things. In real estate, I don't want to say it's easy to get your license, but you can get your license pretty quickly. And I've learned that there's a lot of agents um, who don't get into the details of the contract,
Yeah.
who don't learn those specific things. And Kevin has been a huge help with me with that. And not to skip around too much, my
No.
ADD brain's jumping. But one thing that's benefited me and him with our fire department background
Hmm.
is if I do something that wasn't that good, like I'd screw up on something or I'd mess up on a contract,
Yeah.
he's very blunt and to the point with me. He's like, hey, this is what you have to do. This is what happened. Like, let's get this fixed.
Yeah.
And I think some people take that as like brashness, and they don't take that well.
Uh-huh.
And I take it the other way. I take it like, perfect. You've corrected me.
Yeah.
You've given me the instruction I need,
And I won't do it.
and I won't do it again.
Right.
And there's never any like backlash from him for that. It's like, let's learn, let's move forward. So I've loved that in the sense of a learning standpoint. So,
Yeah.
and I've learned to be extremely detailed. I've learned to be very organized, very detailed. So you're always protecting your clients financially, which is a big deal, and you're always working in the best interest of your client.
Yeah.
So that's really kind of what I take my focus on.
Yeah. Well, I think that's working within and working under his wing, in a busy office, doing a lot of transactions. That definitely helps with the learning curve.
Hmm.
Shorten that learning curve of how to do it. Because I think a lot of people, um, from the outside, they look at the real estate agent. Oh, that's pretty easy. I can get my license in whatever, a weekend or a couple weekends or
Right.
whatever, and then I'll go figure it out. Well, those are the folks that don't last for
Right.
more than a year. So having that strong foundation, and having a place to learn, is invaluable.
Yeah.
Um, I got into the mortgage business and very similar. I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn under some people that knew what the heck they were doing, because for the mortgage business, all you learn about to get your license is the laws.
Right.
There's nothing about how to structure a loan, how to then sell a loan, or explain the pros and cons of different loan products.
Yeah.
And so you got to do that with working under somebody.
It's the exact same with real estate. When you get your real estate license, they teach all these laws and legalities, and no one teaches you how to write a contract. No one teaches you the hiccups that are going to happen along the way with inspection periods and financing and all these different things that can happen, or all of that. So
all this, it's very similar. Very similar occupations or industries, if you will. Obviously, we're connected, because it's all real estate. But
fully.
But yeah, same thing. So I guess if anybody's listening and is thinking of wanting to get into real estate because they are very interested in real estate, or very interested in the profession, that would be a huge nugget to take from this is find a place to where where somebody will take you under their wing. And it's very difficult to find somebody to take you under your wing. I'm sure same in real estate and mortgage business. Like these past couple of years, we've been so busy. The thought of bringing somebody in and taking them and showing them the ropes and the hoops you have to jump through and the hurdles, and it's exhausting because there's just so much to it. But you have to.
So I'll expound on that. In real estate, one of the surprising things to me was when I got into it, how unwilling other agents were to help, because it's so competitive. And it was the exact opposite with Kevin. It was very fire department like. Like in the fire department, a new guy comes in, and you have your guys who are who bust their balls, but for the most part, it's very just like you help somebody.
Yeah,
you teach them the ropes. Like that's what you do.
That's our mindset.
You want and you want the team to succeed.
Yeah.
Right. And that really was one of the reasons that I didn't even question. Like sometimes people ask me what my split is with commissions and stuff like that. Like I never even shopped. I didn't go out and look for where the best rate was, because in my mindset, I was moving into the best atmosphere. I was moving into an atmosphere I was going to learn, where I was going to have somebody willing to share their knowledge.
Right.
And I think his background with the fire department translates really well, because he's very much the success of the team. And that's helped me also when I think about real estate. It's this is a team thing. If other people are making money or doing well, it's gonna make us all do well. Very similar to the fire department.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's how you operate. If you operate from a position of abundance as opposed to a position of scarcity, you have that kind of mindset.
Right.
If I'm worried about every single transaction, you're not going to be willing to take somebody on, because like you said, it's competition.
Right.
But in my business, I've got 3 other firemen that are loan officers that work under me, and it's because that we're all a lot of us are fishing in the same waters. We have a lot of the same friends and the same coworkers, and I went to Michael for my loan. Hey, that's cool. He works with me. It's it's all part of the team. It's no big deal. So that's I guess that's different than how other people look at our industries. So that's good. So how big is Kevin Cena? You said what, 6?
I think I think there's 6 or 7 of us that are working on a very consistent basis.
Yeah. The only reason I ask that is I'm curious as to how many on your team have a tie to the fire service, even first or second.
Just him and I.
Oh, really? That's
just
it?
him and I. Yeah.
Okay, because I thought he had one other agent that had a tie to the fire service.
There may be another person that he worked with at Town of Palm Beach that came in and does a little bit, but I don't see.
I just thought it might be. I'd be curious to know whether.
Yeah, most of them are not.
Yeah.
No, not much connection.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are your goals with, with real estate? Do you foresee this as your next career? Where do you kind of want to go with
That's a great
after the
question.
fire service?
That's a great question. I don't really know, I do plan obviously financially for the future. But part of me also feels like, in one way or another, I've been working multiple jobs my entire life.
Hmm.
And part of me wants what I've been doing lately is, most of the money that I'm making, through real estate sales, is going into real estate investment. So,
Oh, awesome.
I do all those things that we were talking about earlier, 457 or Roth IRA from that standpoint. And then on this end, I've kind of specifically told myself I wanted to get, I sold some rental property that I had that I wanted to get back into that.
Hmm.
I'm kind of like diversifying it that way. Um, I don't really have in the sense of like, I've thought about long term when I retire from the fire service, but I don't know where I'm going to be financially. It's hard for me to put my mind there.
Yeah.
I've got really probably 12 years realistically to go if I complete the drop.
Hmm.
Um, so, it all depends. If things are, if I'm having success similar to the Kevin is having, as a team lead or something like that,
Yeah.
that might shorten my drop. But I love going to the firehouse. I love
Yeah.
that job.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm trying to find something to get away from it. I love going to the firehouse. So I don't know. I would love to say I have a specific answer, but I don't. I'm kind of like waiting to see what happens with it. For now, I love it. I love the intensity of it. I love the detailedness of it. It's given my family, some financial opportunities we didn't have before.
Good.
But mostly, I feel good doing it. I feel comfortable doing it. I get to be myself.
Well, one of the things I can tell you from being completely out of the fire service now for, I guess, 5 years now. I've been fully out of the fire service. Is having that connection still with the fire service through, we have the monthly breakfast.
Hmm.
Retirees, washed up guys like myself that go to breakfast every month, and then this podcast, is giving me, allowing me to maintain that connection to the fire service, which I I guess I didn't really realize how important that was.
Hmm.
And just listening to what you're doing, what you have, um, experienced in and whatnot. I think you're setting yourself up to not even not even skip a beat. If you obviously maintain connection to firefighters to the rescue, you've got a connection to the fire service and to the job. And then with real estate, setting yourself up for a second career after the fire service. I think you're setting yourself up to be able to hit on all cylinders there. So
I appreciate it.
it's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Hopefully, you know, um, Jules, who you had in here,
Yeah.
who's on the board with us, I think she mentioned to you, when she retired, she joined, that's when she became like an unofficial board member with us,
Uh-huh.
but I know that's kept her connection tight with, all of us. And, it's been really good.
Yeah. Because I mean, if you think about your whole fire department career, you've got this camaraderie and connection, and then when you retire, to think of losing out on that.
Yeah.
um that's a big deal.
Yeah. If there's one thing I could mention when we're talking about that, one thing that we've done, and I'm sure you've heard about this, but this has nothing to do with real estate or anything, but
Uh-huh.
there's a lot of us who mountain bike together at the department,
Oh, okay.
and we go on these annual trips,
Uh-huh.
and that's been so much fun,
Yeah.
and I hope stuff like that continues,
Yeah.
after retirement, those friends that we do that with,
Yeah.
it's not, fire department activity, but it's outside activity, that we just
Exactly.
go have fun with, and
Yeah.
reminisce and do whatever. But that's been a huge enjoyment for me. We plan these big trips. We go, we hang out, shoot the shit, have a
Yeah.
good time.
So the guys I retired with out of Central Florida, and I retired 12 years ago, or just about 12 years ago. We do an annual baseball trip,
Right.
and we're trying to hit all the baseball stadiums.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, I think we've gone to like 9. Well, I guess actually we just recently hit another one, so we're up to like 10.
Right.
And yeah, we do that every year, and it's pretty much a similar core group of guys. Occasionally we'll add 1 or 2 people,
Right.
but yeah, and that's another way to stay connected to the service.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. So if our listeners were interested in, obviously they're interested in getting on the pension board, if their department even has a pension board. A lot of departments, unless they're like a local law plan, they might not even have a pension board that they could serve on. But it could still researching and learn more about their plan. But if somebody was interested in getting into real estate, where would you send them, or what would you tell them to do?
Well, to get your real estate license, like I said, there's multiple avenues. There's these like fly by night online places that you can get them. I did mine online, through a local school here
Okay.
in Palm Beach County. Looking back, I would recommend someone go to the class to do something
Do it in
online,
person.
do it in person. I did mine online just because my life is really busy, even outside
Yeah.
outside of real estate and the fire department. I have 2 teenage daughters, both at the time played travel sports, very, very busy lives. So and my brother, his family, we do a lot of stuff together as a family. So I was doing it, I would cram it in the evenings. I'd cram it in whenever I could online. But I will say it's challenging online.
Yeah.
Just like a fire department class, you have to, when you do it online, you have to do like every ounce of every piece of paperwork. And then sometimes in class, they give you some of the stuff that you need to know. So obviously that you can do it in as short as I think 9 days or something. You can do it pretty quickly, or, over time.
Hmm.
But I would say do that. And then when you get into finding, if you want to be a real estate, in like a sales agent, find someone who can mentor you, and that might be challenging because like we were talking about, there's not those people that want to bring you under their wing. But I would recommend somebody find a group, that you can share, especially if you're a fireman or,
Yeah.
because when you're on duty, you need help.
Yeah.
If you're going to be an effective real estate agent, you're going to have to be able to share your time with other people.
Hmm.
People who are buying houses, selling houses, they don't want to wait for you when you're on shift.
Yeah.
So you have to be okay with sharing that with other people and saying, hey, can you show when I'm on duty? Can you handle some of these things when I'm on shift? Otherwise, it won't work. You won't be successful.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I think that's helped me a lot is I have those resources on my group. Is when I'm not available to be there at that moment, someone else is. And that I would say find that from a time standpoint and find someone who's willing to mentor you. Not just in sales, but in like how to do this job, to do it right, to do it real,
Yeah.
to how to organize yourself, to give you some sort of, whether it's a book or a guideline to follow or something, and that allows you to come into the office and spend time with them, not just hand you deals, not just from a financial standpoint, but really teach you how to do it properly. Because once, for me at least, about a year and a half ago, I started to really feel comfortable. Just like in the fire department, you become a driver, you're all excited.
Hmm.
And then really about 2 years in, you start to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Same, you become an officer, you're all excited, you have all these ideals. And then a
Yeah.
couple of years in, you really settle into who you are, Same with real estate. You start to settle in, you start to really learn. You've got some good deals and some good experience under your belt. So when
Hmm.
things start to go a little haywire, you can smooth them out. You need to get that
Education.
education.
And that's just as much, like capital or earnings, if you will. When you mentioned how, looking at splits
Mhm.
and commission split with the broker that you're working with or whatever, there's a huge value in that education. And don't get hamstrung by, oh, well, I have a better split over here. Where are you going to get the best education? Who's going to take you under their wing, and you're going to really get that value from. So
Yeah, that's huge.
that's enormous.
And it'll make you better at your job.
Yeah.
It'll make you better at what you're doing, which is big. I think I say that because becoming an agent, like we were saying, can be so. It's a huge field. There's a ton of real estate agents, and once you develop yourself as a good agent, that's when your business. That's what I'm feeling now. Is my business is starting to really take off because of the experience that I'm gaining, because of the knowledge base that I'm getting,
because of that foundation. Now, do you foresee or wanting to bring on somebody to work underneath you?
Yeah, I think,
Eventually?
I think I would, over the next however many years, if, my, like I said, my partner, Kevin, now he's 20 years older than me. He's almost 65. As he starts to step away, and my experience and my confidence to lead a team starts to grow, I would definitely do that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if any of our listeners are looking to move into or out of the area and they wanted to get a hold of you, how would they find you?
Can I give my cell phone here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, my cell phone number 561-758-8023, or on social media, Facebook, just Mike Zingaro, Instagram, Mike Z sells PVC. That's a good running joke with some of the Firehouse guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Just reach out to me personally. Cell phone's probably the easiest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. And then for our podcast, if you know somebody that's having an amazing life after the fire, or they're preparing themselves for one through having a side career, side hustle, or what have you, we'd love to hear about them. Get them on the show. Best way to reach out to us is through email. It's info@latfpodcast.com. That's info@latfpodcast.com. We'll see you on the next one.